Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Hope everybody had a great weekend. A lot of stuff going on with the mighty Gators and all their different spring sports. We'll recap most of that, break it down, get Scott Carter's analysis because he was at most of these events over the weekend. He'll join us about 8:30. But in the meantime, we're going to go and hit the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Corn Dog. Good morning, JC.
Yeah.
How are you?
Hey, good. How are you? What's happening out there? We had a good weekend. Very warm, dude. It's summer. Is summer here already? What is this, 88-degree weather we're getting? How about that?
Yeah, it was very hot. But if you missed it, and like I told you, JC, we'll break it down for all our loyal listeners in the second portion. But news and notes, Gator Gymnastics, they beat Oklahoma, who I think was number 2 in America. We were number 3. This was on Friday night. Men's basketball team defeats Georgia in Athens. Baseball sweeps Georgia State. Softball wins the UCF Invitational. They won 12-11 over UCF last night. They also beat James Madison, who I believe, I'm almost 100% sure they were in the College World Series last year. They host Southern Miss Wednesday. They're 16-0 right now. Usually those first 16 games are a bunch of patsies, but they've played some really good softball teams. So Tim's got a squad as usual. Women's basketball loses their 3rd straight yesterday at home on Senior Day to Missouri. When I had Kelly Ray on a couple of weeks ago, they were pretty much sealed as a top 4 seed. Well, they've dropped to the 5 seed for the tournament. So your top seeds in the women's tournament, which starts this week maybe, is obviously South Carolina. The 2 seed is at LSU. The 3 seed, oh gosh, it escapes me. Ole Miss is now your 4 seed. But the Lady Gators dropped down to the 5 seed, but they are in the NCAA tournament. But losing 3 in a row going into the conference tournament is not the way you want to do it. So also, JC, did you see in college basketball this weekend, for the first time in the history of the game, the top 6 teams all lost?
Actually, I think, yes, and 7 of the top 10. 7 of the top 10. And I think, I think it just demonstrates what we've been preaching on here, that it's going to be impossible to fill out, I think, a bracket that gets you over 50% winners, only because there's so many teams that I think have a real chance of making a run for all the marbles. And, even some of the teams that were on the bubble, this could work out in Florida's favor when Virginia loses to Florida State and you have teams like that go down. And, I think with 7 teams going down in the AP top 10, it just shows you right now the parity we have in basketball. And it's going to be
all those
really
teams were
exciting.
also, everybody that lost was also on the road. It's amazing to me, and I've never understood this, why it's so hard to win on the road in college basketball. Because think about it, JC.
Yeah.
Football's a different story because crowd noise can affect your execution in a play. If your left tackle can't hear the snap count and he's just if he's slightly late off the ball, it's a sack fumble or something like that. But it's just amazing to me because the court is the same length. It's a 10-foot rim. And it's just amazing to me how people play poorly on the road.
Yeah, it's just effort. I don't really know. But it's been this way since the Stone Ages, QB. It has been this way forever. And I just, the Gators used to play in a place called Alligator Alley. And for all the old Gators watching today, they'll know what I'm talking about. It's the Florida Gymnasium. And there was about a 5,000 seat capacity in that building. This is well before the O'Connell Center. And the Gators had really the least talented of many of the basketball teams in the SEC. And yet every time Tennessee or Alabama or Kentucky even, or Vanderbilt at the time would come to Alligator Alley, they flat out had the hardest time to try to win a basketball game. Ray Mears, who was the coach in Tennessee, used to take the bench. This was the first coach that I ever saw do it, and move it from the sideline to the middle of the court to do the timeouts because they couldn't handle the heckling from the fans who were right behind them. The other night when Gonzaga lost at St. Mary's, which is a school in Northern California near Oakland, the crowd is literally so close to you, it just somehow psychologically has to affect you. And it affected Gonzaga because they couldn't throw it in the Pacific Ocean. And it doesn't make any sense. Why? Maybe it's the visual aspect of a gymnasium compared to a big arena. But whatever it is,
usually smaller gyms, you shoot a lot easier.
Well,
the big arenas, it's hard to shoot because of depth perception.
Well, maybe, but yeah, well.
No, I know for a fact because when I played high school basketball and you play in these gyms, it's so much easier to shoot. And then you go to the playoffs where they're in Coliseums and the Jackson Memorial Coliseum, and you have no depth perception. It was so much harder to shoot the basketball.
Yeah. Whatever it is, they couldn't score against St. Mary's. And give St. Mary's credit. You know, this is a team. Well, we know it's a Catholic school the size of about 3,000 students in California, and they're going to be one of the. They have been, by the way, I just learned something about the St. Mary's Gales. 13 years straight, they've been in some sort of postseason basketball, and they're one of the best mid-level schools in basketball in the country in the last decade.
Easily.
And, yeah. And so they've done great, and they beat Gonzaga. It was I had to stay up and watch that. It was tremendous. We had court stormings everywhere in America on Saturday in college basketball, and it goes to the excitement, the atmosphere, and all that is part of it.
We got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And I'll have to admit to all our listeners around the world, I did not see one bit of the Gator basketball game because I was busy at a coaches clinic in Tampa for the Florida Coaches Coalition, trying to help bring awareness to high school coaches being paid more in the state of Florida, and that's why they're all leaving. So Andy asked, does anyone know why DeRougie didn't play on Saturday? I thought he was one of our most athletic guys. He is probably our most athletic guy. I didn't know he didn't play. And like I said, I apologize because I didn't get to see the game. So maybe Scott Carter can fill us in on that.
Yes, I'm sure Scott will. Florida, you don't believe it, but I still think they have an outside chance of getting in.
Well, they have to beat Kentucky. It's that simple.
Right. Well, they have to beat Vanderbilt, too. And that's the next game on Tuesday night. And that's a tough place to play. Again, it is. Why, I don't know. But, it's just a weird place if you walk in that Memorial Gymnasium up there. But they do have to win. And if they do win, there is a conceivable path that 7 teams in this conference get into the NCAA tournament. That's half the conference they could get in. And if they get a little help from some of the mid-major teams being upset that are on the bubble, then I don't see why Florida couldn't be that 7th team.
I would love to see Florida be one of the teams that plays on that Tuesday night, the play-in games.
Yeah, play-in games. Hey, that's the tournament. I mean, you get in there, you get into that way, go play Dayton or somebody like that and get in and then just move on down the road. Look, the Gators played hard the other day. That game against Georgia was never in doubt. They dominated from start to finish. They really didn't have any problems like they've had in the past in Stegman. They score a lot of points. I don't know what it is about Stegman Coliseum in Georgia, but for the last 2 years.
Georgia doesn't play Georgia. It's their style of play. Everybody that plays Georgia, it's a track meet because Georgia, they don't really play any defense. They're very good offensively, but they allow you to attack the basket. DeRougie's been hurt. A lot of our guys say he's had a bad ankle, foot injury. White says he didn't feel good about being on the court. So there you have it for Anthony DeRougie. There was JC John asked here on Facebook Live. Brought to you by Mellon Law. Do you guys consider Gonzaga a mid-major basketball team? Well, they are, but they're not.
Well, right. They're a mid-major that plays like a major, right? I mean, it's a tiny little school up in Washington State, but they are a monster in the college basketball world, right? And I don't know. I think Gonzaga will be fine, but Drew Timme didn't even look like he knew where he was the other night. He had no idea. I watched that game. That guy was lost out there. And it's just shocking to me because of how good that guy is. So I mean, Gonzaga would be fine. I think they're going to give Gonzaga a really high seed, obviously a 1 or 2 or 3.
I think they're still going to be number 1, even though they lost. They'll still be number 1 this week.
Probably. They probably will. But yeah, I mean, everybody lost, right? Everybody in the top 10. So, but Gonzaga, they're going to get a good bracket. They'll have an easy path to the Sweet 16. We'll see how they do from there. I don't know if they're as good as they were last year, QB, though. I'm not thinking they were. They are, I should say.
Yeah, well, they lost the one kid who's the point guard. That was a top pick by the Orlando Magic. He's not there. JC, I got a little trivia question for you. Switching gears to college football. I thought this was interesting. I get these emails usually on Mondays and Wednesdays, I think, and it talks about college sports, but it also has like a fun fact in there. So here's your fun fact for today, JC. Let's see if you know here.
I'm not good.
All right. So we're going to test your knowledge of the past number 1 overall picks in the draft, NFL draft. Every Power 5 conference has produced at least one number 1 overall pick since 2000.
Since 2000? Okay.
Since 2000. Every conference has produced at least one number overall pick. Can you name the Power 5 conference with the most number 1 picks in the Power 5 conferences with the least? Hang on, let me repeat that. Can you name the Power 5 conference with the most number 1 picks and the Power 5 conference with the least amount of number 1 picks since 2000?
Golly. Since 2022 years.
Now, we're just talking about the number 1 overall pick in the National Football League. So you're looking at 21 years.
I know. Well, I mean, to me.
One is very obvious.
I'm going to say the SEC.
Okay, so the SEC with the most number 1 picks since 2000 has 7. Joe Burrow, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Cam Newton, Matt Stafford, Jamarcus Russell, and Eli Manning.
How about that?
Okay, can you name – this was what shocked me. The Power 5 conference with the fewest number 1 overall picks since 2000.
Okay, with the fewest. Big Ten.
You're right.
How about that? And I didn't even hesitate, QB. The Big Ten.
That doesn't surprise you, though?
No, because Ohio State is just one school.
Yeah, but they've had Michigan. I mean, so Jake Long and Courtney Brown in 2008 and 2000. I was blown away. I mean, that tells you that the ACC, the Pac-12,
Big 12.
the Big 12 have had way more number 1 picks than the tradition of the Big Ten.
Well, the Big Ten, again, the Western Division of that conference, whenever they split it up, is so irrelevant that they get excited about it, but look at the teams in that league, man. And they make fun of the SEC up there, and that's fine, but the results are the results. You can't change that. So just look at the results, folks. Look at the NFL draft picks. Look at the top picks that you just talked about. Look at the number of playoff appearances. Look at the number of championships. Look at the number of NFL players. I mean, it's not even really close, honestly.
Well, I knew the SEC had the most. That was the easy part. I was just blown away that. And think about this. Those 2 guys I just mentioned, that were the top 2 picks for the Big Ten. They're not even skill guys. Well, offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah. But again, I go back to one team in that league. It's so top heavy. It's been that way for so long. I mean, has anybody I guess who threatened Ohio State to win that conference?
But it's hard to believe that Ohio State hasn't had a number 1 overall pick.
True. Yeah.
Rat Spot's expanding, folks. Check out their second location at 1931 North Main Street. Rat Spot's teamed up with Vibrant Vinyl Works to offer color change wraps, advertising wraps, custom striping, hood wraps, and wall wraps. Speaking with JC on the Titan and More Hotline, we'll be joined with Scott Carter here in just a second. Real quick.
You were stunned that I got that right. You just.
Well, I mean, JC, okay, you had a 25% chance because there were only other 4 Power 5 conferences left. So it wasn't like you picked a school out of the 130 something teams that play Division I football. Jalen Suggs is the kid I'm thinking of. But here it is. Joseph has a Facebook Live comment brought to you by Meldon Law. He says, "My boy Brooks Koepka shoots even at the Honda Classic. Not a terrible finish, but he's got to get it together and get some wins this year. He hasn't started great. Brooks Koepka don't give a damn about any of these tournaments until it is called a major.
Mm. Yeah, I think he's just warming himself up, right? I mean, he's just getting his game together. He's had some injury issues. I picked him this past weekend. The guy you picked should have won it. I mean, I couldn't believe what happened to Daniel Berger. It's so sad because I like the guy, but shooting 74. I mean, Sepp Straka made up 9 strokes on Danny.
Well,
Berger.
what happened is I watched a lot of that. Berger had a 5-shot lead going into the final round, paired with Shane Lowry. Berger bogeys 3 of his first 4 holes. Lowry birdies 2, so the 5-shot lead is gone, and he just couldn't get it together. But what's crazy is the damn Georgia Bulldogs are just running the PGA Tour right now.
They are running the PGA Tour.
It's unbelievable.
I know, and yet, have they ever played at the Gator Invitational? I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen them play golf here, but that program is not. Have they won a national championship recently?
I don't know if they've won it, but they got more players on the PGA Tour, and I think they've had. I thought I heard them say yesterday, like 12 or 13 former dogs win tournaments in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's a lot. No, I mean, it's true. I think, I guess the one that got the most attention a while back was Bubba Watson. But, man, it's gone from there. I mean, there's some guys that you don't know of, like Keith Mitchell, a guy like Kevin Kisner, excuse me. These guys you don't hear much about, but they win tournaments or they've won a tournament here and there. They make money. They're from Georgia. Yeah. Bubba won that Masters a couple of times, but you're right, man. University of Georgia is having some real representation on tour. It's pretty crazy. But I thought you made a good pick with Danny Berger. That was a good pick, and I think it made a lot of sense back here in Florida playing. But man, that 74 was very surprising.
Yeah, it just a rough start, and then they had to play the last 2 holes in just a monsoon. It was unbelievable.
How about Sepp Straka hitting a driver 340 in that monsoon, and then pulling out a 225 yard shot into the middle of the green and almost make an eagle in that storm. That's called winning a tournament right there, dude. That 18th hole is tough. You see the water there everywhere, and Dan Berger hit it in the water, but boy, Straka went out and won that tournament. Good for him, his first ever win, and he's off and running now. He's got a 2-year exemption.
Yes, indeed. Gene says on Facebook Live, Georgia played Gator Open last year and brought Davis Thompson, and Florida sent them packing.
Okay.
Don't know who Davis Thompson is.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I mean, the only Gator that I can think of that we have on tour right now, I mean, I know Villegas Camilio is still on tour. He plays in certain events, but Billy Horschel is about the only one that I can think of right offhand.
I don't even know if Brian Gay plays.
Brian finally turned 50, so he's been playing with the big older guys. But he did play this weekend in the Honda Classic. You're right, Brian. And you're talking about a little dude. He's at that stage now where he's never been a long hitter, so he's probably like, thank God I finally turned 50. Now I can go play with those guys.
I made a lot of money, though, in his golf career, regardless of everything. He's done very well for himself. He's stayed on tour. He's kept his status. How about Miguel Angel Jimenez, who at 57 or 58 is just dominating the Champions Tour? And one of the things he does that makes it so impressive is that he does these crazy stretching exercises. You know how you talk about how athletes stretch and everything? That guy has never hurt. He's never hurt. So a little tip to all our listeners out there endeavoring to
do you do that before you tee off?
Well, before I play tennis, before I play golf. Just remember, athletes stretch. Somebody told me that. And if you go ahead and do that, you will not get hurt.
That's not always true. Have you ever seen a dog stretch where he chases a car?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. But last time I checked, I'm not competing against dogs. But I do think that it's important if us in our 50s do a little bit of stretching, man. Take Miguel Angel Jimenez's advice. That guy is never hurt. And all he's doing is just running away with the Champions Tour. He wins all the time. So good for him. He won again.
We got a text on the Titan MR text line. It comes from Daryl. He says, Shane, being you were with the coaches at the clinic, I hope some of the coaches gave their input in high school football about public schools playing public schools and private schools playing private schools in the playoffs. That was not the conversation at this clinic. It was basically to bring awareness about the stipends and what what coaches are not being paid in the state of Florida. They had Mario Cristobal speak, Billy Napier spoke, Jeff Scott spoke, tons of other high school coaches. And John asked, can I share what Coach Napier said at the coaches clinic? Yeah, I actually went over to the football offices last week and met with the coaches, and man, they are impressive folks. I can't even start to tell you how impressed I am with what they're doing. And I sat back in the back and listened to Coach Napier speak this weekend. Just a normal guy, man.
Well, give me an example.
As I've said, he grew up how I grew up, as a coach's son, who he understands the high school, because he was there to support the high school coaches, because his dad coached in Georgia. He's got two brothers, I believe, that are head coaches in Georgia high school. He knows what's happening in the state of Florida. We're losing great coaches because they're paid peanuts, man. It's ridiculous for a high school coach stipend to be $3,500 when it comes out to be about. Just giving examples, and it's exactly what I did as a kid, running around, playing around in the equipment room, helping be a ball boy. Then you get in your dad's car or truck, you take kids home. Then the next morning you go all around the county picking kids up to take them to workouts. That's what high school coaches do. And I don't think the general public understands that. But anyway, he talked about the plan he has at Florida. He's a sharp dude. He has got everything documented. As he likes to say, he learned most of this from the guy that wears the straw hat. That's what he calls him, the guy that wears the straw hat. He doesn't call him by name.
That's okay.
Giggle a little bit. But yeah, he went for like an hour just with kind of what his, I don't want to process formula, what it's going to be, but it was, he's so just a normal guy. I don't know how else to put it.
I think we've spoken about this, and we talked about this well before Mullen got fired. And one of the problems that we documented, or at least I know I talked about it at length, was how, networking, creating relationships, selling your program, doing the difficult road work with your feet is how you can get very successful. And Billy seems to be, to me, as the guy who is very good at creating some sort of relationship, whatever it is. Networking with high school coaches, is there a more important breeding ground for talent in state than high school coaches? Breeding ground meaning, where are you going to look for people, and who's going to call you at some odd hour and say, hey, man, I got this kid you've got to see who just came on our team, who transferred from across town. Nobody ever talked about him, and he can run. And these are the kinds of things that I don't think Dan Mullen really demonstrated much of an expertise at. Now, Dan was good in Mississippi when he was finding these 3-star athletes in the middle of the woods, and they ended up being Dak Prescotts of the world and stuff, people like that. But Billy knows that in the state of Florida, there are 8, 9 teams or schools out there that are competing for the same thing you're doing. And the more high school coaches you can get to know, and the more processes you can put in place that brings familiarity to the University of Florida, the better off he's going to be. And I think he's extremely intelligent and smart for taking the time to do something like what you just did this weekend. And networking with these coaches, bro. It's so important to get these coaches on board with your program, because there are 5 others that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, he's got a plan. And as he said, it's going to take a couple years because we are not at the talent level that a University of Florida should be at. But he's impressive, man. I like him a lot. And, we'll see. He's got a plan. He's going to stick to it. It may take some time, but we shall see. And
gotta get a quarterback.
Very, very impressed with him.
Gotta find a quarterback, QB. That's the first thing. Gotta find.
Yeah, John says, what did you think of Super Mario at the coaches' clinic? I left before Super Mario spoke. I couldn't hang out. It was a long day, man. I was there from like 7 a.m. till about 6 p.m. and he hadn't spoken, and I was like, I got to go.
It is so competitive in Florida. Gus Malzahn, Super Mario, Mike Norvell. Now you have Billy Napier. Then you've got the guys down there on the periphery schools like FAU and FIU and so forth that are just looking for players. And Florida's got a lot of them, but you want the best. And that's what I think Billy is really trying to do, is network to get these coaches to help him out find the best players in Florida and build this team from within the state. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. There's no question. The entire coaching staff from Indiana was there too. Their head coach spoke. So it was a good event they put together in about 40 days to bring awareness. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how they're going to get these coaches more money, but they just, JC, you don't follow high school sports that much, but Madison County, Mike Coe has won multiple state titles. He just left Friday to go to Coffee County up in Georgia.
Yeah. Well, I do remember the legendary Mike Pittman out of Live Oak, Suwannee County. You know, they won multiple championships in the 90s at Live Oak. Right up.
Where did he go? Did he leave and go to Georgia?
He went to Georgia. He went to Georgia to find money to get his family taken care of, for God's sake. So, you know, and it's good networking opportunity for you, QB. That, you know, you sell equipment to high schools. I bet you had a good time.
We were the title sponsor, JC. We already have all those. We have all those schools pretty much under wraps. So, yeah, John says I may be biased, but I don't think Norvell can recruit with Napier and Cristobal. Look, I don't know. I've been blown away at listening to Billy Napier talk to these high school coaches for the hour that he spoke to them, and for about an hour that I sat down with him and a couple other coaches. I was blown away. Now, they are more thorough than I would ever be at anything, but that's what they've learned. That's their plan, and that's what the guy in the straw hat does. So it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say it has. I'd say it's been something we'll never see again. Hopefully, we'll see something close to it, though. I know Billy Napier knows what he's doing. I mean, anybody who goes to Louisiana and sends kids to the NFL has to know what they're doing.
Here was a stat. I wish I would have taken a picture of it. In the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, win percentage. He had the schools listed. It was like Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Louisiana, Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
It's crazy. Everything, and then he put all these stats up of, you know, protecting the football, creating turnovers with all the Power 5 schools, and his schools were right up there. He's got a plan, folks. JC, before we let you go, let's get to this day in sports. Brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience. Great culture and benefits and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give them a call, especially now with it getting hot. JC's AC is going out on him. 352-376-2366. JC, in 1940.
Ooh, okay.
The first televised basketball game.
Oh.
You got any idea who played in that?
I'm going to guess.
Never guess this.
Kentucky and Texas Wesleyan.
No, the first televised basketball game in 1940 was played by the Pitt Panthers versus Fordham
Rams,
and Pitt beat the Rams 50-37.
Wow,
that's the first televised game.
Yeah, 1940s. That's where most people my age whose parents were born in that time period, right before the big one started in World War II. But yeah, QB, that's a good this day in history for you right there. Very historical. Very historical.
JC, we had somebody text wanting to know what hat are you wearing? They're having trouble making it out.
That is an elephant from the old days in the 50s when Alabama had the elephant running across the screen from the 50s. And this is just an old school logo from the 50s before the Bears started there. So it was on the table, and I didn't feel like walking back to the closet. It's a long walk from here to the closet. So I just went with this. And by the way, I'm getting my hair cut, QB. All of this is going away in about an hour.
Very bushy.
You know, the naturally curly hair that I have, it just won't quit growing. I don't know. Some people have a problem with hair. My problem is it won't quit growing.
Let me ask you this, JC. Speaking of that big elephant, did Alabama at any time have a big owl, like a live elephant on campus?
Not that I'm aware of, but I will tell you, when I went to school in '82, they had 15,000 students. It was the size of one. Well, it was one of the smaller schools in America, or in the SEC at least. Not in America, but definitely in the SEC. And today, it's one of the top 5 in enrollment, I think, in this conference. So,
well, that had nothing to do with me asking about an elephant.
And the elephant, dude, look, if you can't bring an alligator in a cage down there on the field, or you can bring a tiger. The LSU did bring Mike the Tiger out there.
Well, they used to. They don't do that anymore. Mike just stays in his cage out there. What is it, on the north end of the stadium, I believe? Yeah. He's got his own little roaming area.
Yeah, he does. I don't think we've ever seen an elephant in the state of Alabama, much less on a football field.
Well, y'all don't have a zoo at the Montgomery Zoo or anything?
No. I mean, roaming free in the state of Alabama. They brought that.
Well, how many Bengal tigers are roaming in Baton Rouge?
Yeah.
Have you seen them roaming in the swamps?
Swamps. No, you have not.
But I do think they need to. That would be so damn cool. The end. You know where the graveyard is down there on the south end of Bryant Denny.
South end of Bryant Denny. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They need to put a little area where they can get a big owl down there.
I'll tell you
Think about how many people will be taking pictures with that.
If they brought in an African elephant into the stadium, it would take over the entire story of the day. It would. I mean, it's just there's no.
I think you need to lead that. You need to figure out how y'all can do that.
Well, I'd have to fight PETA, and I'm just not into the fighting right now. There's enough of that going on, QB. But I would love it. I'd love to see the big tusks come out and the thing rolling out there with the big floppy ears and just raising hell. I mean, nobody'd watch the game. They'd all be looking at the elephant. That's for sure.
I think that would be outstanding.
Nicknames are crazy. How many hurricanes have gone through Tulsa, Oklahoma in the last?
Well, that is the dumbest nickname.
Right.
There's two things that are really dumb in college sports: the Tulsa Golden Hurricane and the logo that the University of Miami has. Those are the two of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, the stork. I don't know what the
No, not the stork. The U. The U is their logo. Yeah. That is the dumbest logo ever. Real quick, Coy asked on Facebook Live, and dadgummit, it went away. Let me pull it up.
Oh, come on, Coy.
He says, does JC only wear winning team hats? Does he have any team hats where the team sucks?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll do it. I'll do Coy one better than that. I will bring out a team that sucks on Wednesday. Okay.
Well, Andy responds, he has a Jags hat.
Good job, Andy. Yeah, I got plenty of teams that aren't there. I got a Detroit Tigers hat, Detroit Lions hat, but I will bring out a university that's having a bad basketball season on Wednesday, but has one of the absolute coolest logos in college sports. I'll leave it to I'll surprise you on Wednesday, QB, but you will agree with me. They got
the Wichita State Shockers.
Well, that's one of them, but that's not the one.
And my high school teammates, their head coach, they're struggling this year.
Well, but one of this school, I mean, the place where it is, the enrollment there, everything's beautiful about the school except their athletics. And I'll bring out the logo and the hat on Wednesday, and you will agree.
But JC, more importantly, I'm putting you in charge. I want to see a big ass elephant.
I'm working on that. I'm already started texting. So
yeah, text all those big wigs you know. That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take a timeout. Come back. We're going to speak with FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter, breaking down all the sports on campus this past weekend. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avera and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, Regal Cinemas, Le Macaron, Dave & Buster's, Medici's, Palmetto Moon, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, now serving brunch on Saturday and Sundays. And I believe they are open for dinner on Tuesdays as well. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank JC for joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Real quick before we get to our man, Scott Carter, back to high school sports. Greg says Rick Darlington, who coached at Apopka for 17 years and won 3 state titles, left to coach in Alabama, but surprisingly just came back to Florida to coach at DeLand. Yeah, he's doing what a lot of people do. They go there, they get their retirement, they have a few years they need back in Florida, so they come back here and coach. And same thing is going to be happening at Williston with Robbie Pruitt taking over there. But let's go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by the top dog over there at FloridaGators.com, senior writer Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Shane. Yeah, I remember Darlington from Apopka days. That's my alma mater for a couple of years, but I was there well before.
You were a Blue Darter?
I was a Blue Darter for a couple of years in high school when remember Mark Murray, a Gator, played here. He played there. A little before Warren Sapp came through, but yeah, Apopka's put out some good players, man.
There's no question. And they run that wing version of the wing tee or single wing. And I don't know if they still do that. But yeah, it's a very, very good program. Scott, let's first start with what happened Friday night. I believe it was senior night, gymnastics. Yep. I believe Gators were number 3 in America, OU number 2, packed house. I would probably say that women's gymnastics now, probably the second most attended sport besides football.
Consistently, yeah. I mean, they're setting attendance records again this year. I think they're averaging 9,000 or so. I mean, they packed the O-Dome on Friday night, and it's a great product, Shane. I mean, these girls are amazing athletes. They do something that few of us can obviously do. They do it at a very, very high level. And now, as we maybe talked before, with the way this NIL is set up, I mean, you're getting Olympians now coming to college, whereas they used to retire because they can compete for 4 years and also take advantage of the NIL opportunities. So it's really increased just the value of the sport to fans, to the media, and certainly to these colleges. But yeah, Friday night at the O-Dome, man, I've been to a lot of these, Shane, and I think it was as loud as I've ever heard it. It was, great setting, senior night, but a bit more than anything, these two programs, Oklahoma and Florida, I mean, they're going to be in the finals at the NCAA championships if they stay healthy and play out like they should. So they could definitely meet again. So it was a huge performance by Florida. Trinity Thomas had a 10. I think on one of the events, he had a 9.975 on
apparatus. You got to call it an apparatus.
That's right. So yeah, I think it was the beam apparatus. She had a 10 or bars. I can't remember. It's all run together. But I mean, any of the Gator fans out there who know about Trinity Thomas, I mean, she is a special athlete and a cool kid too. But yeah, it is a popular sport, and ESPN, SEC Network absolutely loves it. It gets big ratings. It takes an hour and a half window, and they move on. They can do 3 of those in a night, Shane.
Yeah, it's great for spectators. I know it's a great event for a lot of people in the Gainesville area that take their kids to this event, especially young girls. All right, so regular season is over. What happens? Gymnastics is so damn confusing to me. Maybe I'm the only person that can't understand it. Because it's not really about your wins and losses; it's about your point totals. So when do the, I don't want to call them the playoffs, but postseason start?
I think it starts, it's still 3 weeks away, believe it or not. And it's all kind of drawn out. It's usually you start regional, then you have 2 weeks before the finals of the NCAA. And of course, the SEC still has a conference meet. So And the Gators will close up at North Carolina State this coming week they call it a tri-meet, 3 teams up there. So they'll finish up there. And then they actually have to go to Auburn. My bad, I forgot. So, yeah, we still got a few weeks before postseason starts. So the Auburn matchup, that's going to be another highly anticipated. Will determine really if they can win the SEC outright or not. And Auburn has the hottest gymnast in the country in Suni Lee because she was the Olympic hero last year in Tokyo. So it's going to be another big event in the SEC. But, yeah, Shane, once the regular season ends, and then it's about, I think, another 4 to 6 weeks before the actual NCAA championships because they need some time to prepare. And obviously, it's a sport that is not kind on the body. You need some rest.
Yeah, it truly is amazing what those young girls do. Let's switch gears here. Let's switch to baseball real quick. They sweep Georgia State, but John has a Facebook Live question here brought to you by Metal Law. He says, Scott, why didn't Pierce Capola pitch yesterday? Is anything wrong with him?
I know he's been battling some back issues. That's something that the Gators have known about. It's something they expect to fully have to deal with throughout the year. So I think they're going to be very, very careful with Pierce Capola because he's such a big-time prospect. We saw him pitch in the opening series. He gets the ball up there, mid-90s, has an excellent slider, a big release point for a 6'8" guy that's confusing to the hitters. So I don't know the longevity of this current, back issue. I don't know if it's something that's going to keep him sidelined for a while or not, but I do know it's something that the Gators went into the season fully understanding they were going to have to navigate that throughout the year to see what he could give them. And he gave them a good start the first time around, so hopefully he won't be sidelined too long because, that's the biggest question mark on this team is who's going to be the starters consistently behind Hunter Barco.
Yeah, and if you look at the baseball this weekend, I believe I read it correctly. They had like 40-something hits in 3 games. You do that, you're going to win baseball games. If you go back to the series, what happened against Liberty, you had 31 strikeouts in 3 games. So it ain't no different than in basketball. If you don't score, you're not going to win. If you don't hit the baseball, you're not going to win. So it was good to see them get the bats hot because I know talking to Sully before the season, he really liked his lineup offensively. And that first weekend had to be very frustrating for him.
Yeah, he was kind of surprised at how that went down because he said they really swung the bats well throughout the preseason and fall season. So I think you just got a hot pitching staff in Liberty. And Liberty, let's face it, man, they're going to be an NCAA tournament team. They're a good team. And they ran into him. But I like what he said after that series. He'd rather face a good team and learn something about his team than maybe sweep somebody easy and not learn much. So, they did take care of Georgia State as expected. He probably learned more about his team against Liberty, quite frankly. But I know for a fact he'd love to see them hitting the ball. And that, how baseball is, Shane. I mean, the confidence does get contagious in the lineup. Suddenly 3 or 4 guys get hot and the whole lineup starts producing. And you're right. If they score runs consistently, these pitchers they have a deep enough staff and talented enough arms. They're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, it was good to see Judd Fabian finally get his first home run of the year. John asked here, Scott, when is Sully expecting Nick Pogue back in the lineup?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to see him for sure. I just don't know. I think last time he spoke about him, it was kind of still, he still had some rehab to work through and to get back to where they want him to be. I think we're going to see him this season. I still remember watching him in the 19 season. I thought he was going to be really one of their emerging starters after Senior and Coar and Fayado and that group all left. And I still think they're hopeful there, but guy who ran into some arm problems, and you just never know, Shane, how guys are going to come back from that. I mean, you'll see some guys who are better, and you see some guys who just never recover and kind of fade out. But I do know that they still have high hopes for Nick Pogue because with what we just talked about with Pierce Capola earlier, if Capola is, if he can't go regularly, having a guy who's got some college experience and some starting experience like Pogue, if he can give you anything, man, that's a big boost for the rotation.
Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville, North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Speaking with Scott Carter, you can follow Scott on Twitter at Gator Scott. He's a funny guy at times. I saw one that you posted the other day, and I was actually up there the other day, and I still saw it on his door. What was that little 5-year sticker they put on Coach Spurrier's office door?
Spurrier, man, it was great. So the UAA has an awards luncheon every year, and they honor your 5 and 10 and 20 and ever how long you've had. So they have an awards luncheon. They give you a gift. Well, he's been back as ambassador 5 years, and so I guess HR department, they came by and slapped that star on his door. Everybody gets one of those, but they put his on his door, and I just saw it one morning. I had to tweet that because he chuckled about it too, because I saw him later in the day. He's like, yeah, they stuck it on my door. But I heard he had a really good line at the luncheon, Shane. Something like usually you just go up there and you grab your certificate or your gift if you reach certain years, and you don't really say anything. They just give it to you. They announce you in front of the crowd. Like, well, he gets up there and he just takes the mic and says, yeah, 5 years as ambassador. I've outlasted 2 football coaches already.
Oh, that's great.
Only he can get away with that, but it's so great, man.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Outlasted 2 football coaches, no doubt. Andy asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melda Law. Scott, do the men's swim team have a chance to win the NCAA title with a healthy Bobby Fink?
Oh yeah, with a healthy Fink, I think that changes some things. I mean, there's a lot of competition up there. I think what hurts the Gators, Shane, is the diving part of it. They're not going to score much points, I don't think, in diving. But if they can rack up enough wins in the relays and the freestyles and the other events, they have a chance. I mean, Stanford, Texas, some of these teams are always right there, man. So it's really a crapshoot. But, with Fink, you got to believe that if he does anything like he did in the Olympics, he's going to have a couple of national titles to add to his gold medals.
Yep, no question. All right, softball. They sit at 16-0. Beat some really good teams, in my opinion, this weekend. And James Madison, who I keep saying, I swear they were in the College World Series last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they were, yes.
Yeah, so good program there. And obviously UCF is that team that's very good. We always struggle with UCF. I feel like that's the one team that beats us on those Wednesday nights every year. But we go down there and win it. Tim Walton's crew stays at 16-0. How good do you think this softball team is?
Oh, they look very good right now. I mean, what they're doing. It's amazing. Softball is one of those sports, Shane, where they start, and it seems like they just started the season a couple of days ago, and they're already 16-0 because they play so many games in a crunch time span. But I think, and you look at what they're doing, they're not just beating people. I mean, they're crushing them. I mean, they're getting some great pitching. Natalie Lugo's already got a no-hitter. They're hitting the ball. I just see, Tim Walton's, he's had some really good teams in Florida. This one looks like to be really good offensively. I don't know how deep their pitching is behind Lugo or, what his expectations are there. But I think you got to reeling off 16 wins in a row to open the season. The more they can stack up before the SEC, the better, because we all know how that works. I mean, the SEC is really good in softball like baseball and about every other sport. So they're going to have some more difficult challenges in the SEC. But by everything we've seen so far, I mean, there's no reason to think that this team can't compete at the highest level in 2022.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I've been waiting for the SEC softball tournament to be held here. And if you're not a softball fan, start watching, and I promise you will enjoy the SEC tournament. All right, before we let you go, Scott, it was senior day in the O'Connell Center yesterday. Lady Gators, I think they've lost 3 in a row. I had Kelly Ray on my show a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I jinxed her. I said, you look like you're solid as a top 4 seed going into the tournament. They've slipped to the 5 seed. We missed a lot of easy layups yesterday. Yeah. They're just kind of in a funk right now.
Yeah, I think they already, they played really well in the loss to LSU, so there was nothing to really get too concerned over there. But I think the Vanderbilt loss in midweek, that kind of opened some eyes. Like, okay, they should have taken care of Vanderbilt. And then, of course, Missouri is a good team, but, having them at home on senior day, that's a win that you'd like to get. But they lost that one. And I was watching the game, and what came to my mind, Shane, was it's a team that looks a little tired, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Kiki Smith's been playing, I think, 38 minutes a game. I mean, she uncharacteristically missed some easy layups that she doesn't.
She airballed a couple of free throws.
Yeah.
That tells you she's tired.
Yeah, her legs look tired to me. A couple other players, they've been. I mean, it's a team that plays with such energy and heart every game. That catches up with you eventually. And now what the best case scenario would be if they can just reset, get it maybe a day or two's rest before they have to go up to Nashville and open the tournament. Because, they would have loved to have that double bye if they could have gotten that number 4 seed, because that would have given them another day to rest, obviously. They're going to have to go a day sooner as the number 5 seed. And it's still a team, I think, that's safe for the NCAA tournament. But the more you can do in the SEC tournament, the better you can perhaps position yourself for March Madness and get a little better seed. Because if you drop down, into that 8 and 9 area, you're going to face a tough team right away, in the tournament. So anything they can do is Nashville. I just think right now it's a team that needs to take a breath and get a little bit of rest and regroup.
I agree. Last question for you before we get you out of here. John asked, Scott, what kind of access will y'all have at spring practice? Now, you working for the UAA, you probably get more access than the normal media guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll stay out there and watch some practice. I mean, my job, obviously, I bounce around a lot, so I don't have time to watch every practice fully loaded. But I'll be out there a lot in spring. I think the media, I think there's going to be a 15-minute window at the start of every practice that's going to be open. I don't know if that's all throughout camp. That's just initially what I've heard. So hopefully there will be some access, and people can get a little peek there. I know those first 15 minutes are more or less just kind of getting warmed up. Shane, you know how it works. They're not exactly diving deep into the playbook or anything.
No.
But it's a chance to see some new guys in uniform, see how they look physically. Obviously, a chance to just watch a coach, kind of what's his presence out there on the field, what's his communication style. Yeah, you can learn a lot as a writer, reporter that way. But for the hardcore fans who want all the X's and O's, probably not going to get a lot of that.
No. Scott, great stuff as always, buddy. We appreciate it. I know you're extremely busy this time of the year. I know you got a couple of pieces you're working on. People can read those, on FloridaGators.com?
Yeah, FloridaGators.com. One of them was on Mark Hockey, the new strength coach. I wanted to do a little deep dive on this guy.
Did he have you go through all the workouts, like the squats and the power cleans and all that?
I think when I walked into his office, he said, I can't kill this guy. So he didn't beat me up too much. But I liked his personality. You can tell he knows what he's doing. And him and Napier go back about more than a decade as two young guys at Alabama who met and connected. And here they are at Florida, in 2022, seeing what they can do to turn around the program.
Good stuff as always, buddy. We appreciate it. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, Shane. Thanks, buddy.
That's Scott Carter, senior writer for FloridaGators.com. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Had a lot of good information there. We appreciate Scott joining us and JC on the Titan MR hotline. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Have a great Monday, and we'll see you tomorrow, folks.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Great Clips, it's gonna be great. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, South State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Style Cuts, Big Mills Cheesesteaks. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.